What's up, guys? How's it going? You're listening to the Journey to Truth podcast. How's everyone doing? We'll give it a couple minutes, let some more people come into the chat. Can we get a 5-5 if everything sounds all right? What's up, guys? How's it going? Oh, you need to turn that down.
My bad.
Let
me mute this.
Yeah, that's always going to happen. It's hard to remember. What's up, Anita? What's up, Drink with Tessa? What's up, Christina? Drink with Tessa. I like calling everybody by their screen names. It's funny. Can everybody hear us okay? 5-5. All right, sounds good. So tonight we are joined by a familiar face to a lot of you guys who have been following us. You've seen his mug at the beginning of every one of our episodes.
Sorry.
We have Tim Sandars tonight, founder of Omnia Radiation Balancer, and he's coming forward with some new developments and some new test results, new studies on this technology and what it actually is. We're going to break it down. It sounds boring, but it's not. This stuff is literally the next level. This is the future of free energy, of where we're going. It's Nikola Tesla based technology, from what I understand. But before we get into that, I'm going to plug a few things. Just another reminder, we have t-shirts for sale on TeeSpring, 20% off through Christmas with promo code Sleepy Joe. So if you don't have a t-shirt, they make
That's promo code.
They make great Christmas gifts. We have a new design coming out very shortly. Some really busy schedule coming up. So we have our hands full, but yeah, so 20% off, promo code Sleepy Joe for the t-shirts. We just partnered up with Hopewell Farms, a CBD distributor. Hopewell Farm. I need to remember to drop the S.
It's one farm.
Yeah, one farm.
It's just one farm.
Some really great products. If you guys are looking for a new CBD product to try, I highly recommend it. This stuff is very potent. It's very good. It's illegal in other countries.
So you know it's good.
I only say that because we had people angry that they don't ship internationally, but it's illegal in other countries. So we're just stuck with it here. So everybody in the United States, I guess we're lucky.
So you got to fly here to get it.
Yeah, you got to fly here to get it. That's one good thing about
fly to St. Louis and we'll sell it to you.
One good thing about living here right now, right? And if you guys haven't checked out our most recent episode with Ben Sehick on chemtrails and geoengineering, that was incredible. This is a local guy here in St. Louis who Aaron knows. Aaron met him at work and they started chatting. This guy is a wealth of knowledge. He knows tons about the chemtrails, the geoengineering, the NWO agenda, all that stuff. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out because I learned so much. I actually had to go back and rewatch it. It was fascinating. If you haven't really dove into the topic of chemtrails, I definitely recommend that because it's mind-blowing. And if it's new information to you, it might be upsetting, but it's good to be aware of what's going on this planet because now you can do something about it. That being said, I think I covered everything. How's it going, Tim? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, great. Yeah, really good. Yeah. Hey guys. And thanks for having me back on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. We're glad to have you back.
Same to you.
I think this is the third time now.
I think it is. Yeah.
The last time we had you on was it right at the beginning of this pandemic, right when everything was shut down. We were covering some very controversial stuff. That entire episode got shadow banned. I mean, right. It's been crazy. And it's funny because we're still experiencing a lot of that now as far as censorship. We've been watching, we've had 18 to 20 subscribers we lost yesterday. People are being unsubscribed or watching. Aaron watched the view count go in reverse today.
Yeah.
Right. Bit like the elections. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just getting swiped from under your nose. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's it's hard to keep your kind of focus and your center while all of this tyranny and ugliness is going on. Yeah.
I know we have a documentary we're trying to work on, but it's so hard to stay focused on a project that has nothing to do with the current times right now, because it's just hard to, because we're being pulled another direction right now. So we'll let that evolve on its own, but it's just, I know exactly what you mean.
Well,
So-
I guess it's a part of it is a question of how much you're reacting, and then the other side is like how much you're projecting into the future and the future that you want to see. And I think everyone's falling into this trap at the moment of getting sucked into the whole reaction thing, isn't it? And I mean, but that's normal because there's a lot to react against. You know, everyone's, you know, having their buttons pushed about everything from, you know, those things to, you know, the cell towers to whatever else we can't say. But yeah, the buttons are being pushed, aren't they? By, you know, everyone from politicians to, you know, crazy policies and all sorts. Yeah.
Yeah. I know you were recently on As You Wish with James Gilland, and that, you know, I know he likes to bring up the current events every chance he gets.
Right.
No matter what, no matter what,
every single show,
no matter what the topic is, he's always brings it back, you know. But before we go into this, I do want to ask you, what does it look like from the outside looking in on the United States and this election and everything? Because we're here in the middle of it, we're living it. But how do you view it from? How does everyone over there view it from where you're at?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I would answer that in two parts. There's how I see it personally, and then there's how everyone else is seeing it. You know, and I work in a shared office space, and I often sort of just tap into the kind of collective consciousness on the floor, and they are just all, you know, none of them have a clue that there could have been any, you know, malfeasance and you know, anything untoward that went on in the elections. None of them have a clue, and we're also getting a very strong message from all of our mainstream media that Trump is just a bad loser, and it just plays to the British air of kind of like, you know, superiority. I can't even say that, but you know what I mean, superiority. And yeah, it's no one has a clue of the bigger game. I mean, not no one, but there's only a select few of us that are sort of sharing stuff on WhatsApp and so on. But I think it's quite the minority, and the mainstream is just, you know, taking over the narrative as it always has. It used to be subtle, but now it's just blatant. It's, you know, get Trump out. Biden is the president. You know, they proclaimed him ages ago. No one, they've even run features I've seen on the BBC where they've said, you know, Joe Biden is a much more likable person than President Trump, you know, trying to make out that he's got like a impeccable character. And I'm like, what?
Well,
you know,
I mean,
this guy married his wife 2 days after his old ex-wife died. You know, all sorts of, yeah, it's like sort of, you know, all sorts of things. And then, you know, don't get me started about his son. But you know what I mean? It's like there's two camps, but I would say that the minority camp are very, very switched on. We're not particularly well organized in terms of like, you know, our proactivity and what we're going to do about it. But sometimes you just have to be in the knowledge that it's wrong and not consent, and project forward into what you do want to see. And then I'd say the majority of people are just literally biting on anything that will get their lives back to normal, including you know what. So yeah, there's a real kind of push-pull going on. But from where certainly the mainstream message that's going on over here is that, you know, Trump hasn't got a hope in the courts, right? And I don't know whether that's true or not, but you know, hasn't got a hope in the courts and is basically whining like a bad loser. And there's not even anyone saying that Biden, you know, there's any suspicion over Biden being the most popularly elected president.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's just
because James O'Keefe is coming out with all these CNN tapes. He's been recording their conference calls, their morning 9 a.m. conference calls for months now, and kind of getting the behind the scenes look at what's going on. And basically, they're exposing their narrative, and they're being told to don't draw any attention, don't put any energy into Trump not transitioning. or what am I trying to say? They don't want to put energy into, they basically know Trump isn't going to leave office, but they don't want to put any attention onto that. They're making them say, like, basically push Biden, which we already know that, but now we have evidence of them. That is their narrative, and that's what they're being told. I totally butchered that. Just go watch the CNN tapes. Anyway, for those of you just joining, this is Tim Sanders, founder of Omnia Radiation Balancer. You guys know what that is. You've seen the commercial. This is, if I don't fall over out of my chair. I will let Tim explain this stuff. There's been some new studies, some new developments coming, I guess, some breakthrough studies, I guess. This is some next level stuff that you're finding out what these patches are actually doing.
Yep.
Go ahead and explain that,
Yep.
and explain the technology and everything, because
Sure.
this stuff is fascinating.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it's always a challenge for us because, you know, we've got a little sticker like Aaron just said, Tyler just showed, and that goes on a mobile phone, a Wi-Fi router, a laptop, or anything like that. And then we change the state of the radiation field, right? But there is no test out there that there's no meter that you can hold up to a radiation field and say, oh, that's great, it's now centered, balanced, and a life-affirming energy. There's no meter like that. So what we have to do is use the human body as the barometer, or the conduit, to show us whether the human body has responded well or not so well, right? And in case you didn't know, there's like 10,000 peer-reviewed studies out there on rats that show that rats develop everything from cancers to endocrine damage to infertility and heart rate problems and all sorts of other things. But we don't have hundreds of thousands of pounds to go into labs and do tests on rats. So we use some might call alternative modalities to check in with the body and see whether the body responds well or not. The obvious one is applied kinesiology, where you use your body's strength and all the electrical balance in the body to tell you whether it's a yes or a no if you hold your phone. And the bad news is that for pretty much 100% of people, in fact, 100% of people, it's a no. People go weak when they hold their phone. And then when you put our patch on the phone, they go super strong. And we just took it to the next level with that applied kinesiology with another modality called autonomic response testing. And that goes on the basis that there is effectively a light body around your body, and you are always emitting and receiving light around your body. And they can measure that in terms of its coherence, right? So they have a little, what they call a pole filter at the top, which basically adjusts the light coming in and out. And then they test the body's strength when it's exposed to something. And then they adjust it to see, what kind of balance needs to be restored. And what they can do is they can measure whether the body is in blocked regulation, right? Which is basically stress. It means that the body is kind of working to regulate itself. So that's blocked regulation. So it can tell you whether you don't like something. So if you're allergic to milk, you would be in blocked regulation. They just pop it on your stomach, and then they do this test. So they can also measure whether you are in open regulation, which is basically when your body is flowing, and then they can give that a measurement, right? So it goes up to 90 basically. So they can measure how coherent you are, or how coherent the light body around you is. But then they can also measure whether you are in what they call yang state. And yang state is the masculine state. It's where the energy in the body is being used to repair itself, right? And the way that they test that is by what they call O-ring tests, right? So they basically pull these two apart and see whether you're super strong. I don't know if you've ever done that test, but it's another type of muscle test, right? And there's 4 fingers, so there's 4 tests, but you can do 2 tests on each finger. And basically you can see whether you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 level of yang state, right? So what we did is we used autonomic response testing to test out the autonomic nervous system and get it to show us what happened when my 2 subjects, we did it on 2 people, held a phone, right? And they both went into blocked regulation mode, meaning the body was under stress, it was under duress, it was dealing with something, right? And then we put the Omnia patch on the phone, and we get the person to hold the phone in the hand, and those people went into open regulation, right? So the stress disappeared, which was fantastic. And they went all the way back up to 90. So basically it was like the phone wasn't there. So that was really, really good news. But then the next piece of good news, which kind of bowled me over because I wasn't really ready for this. We then held the phone with the Omnia patch next to the head, and we did the O-ring tests, right? And when we did the O-ring tests, we found that because we've changed the state of this energy field here around the phone to something that is in absolute harmony with the energy in the human body, the body went into the 8th state of yang, right? Which is the, basically the healing state. So we're basically showing that we've turned something that was causing blockages, stress, electrical imbalance in the body into something that was now a healing field, right? And I'm not actually allowed to say the word healing on my website, so I'm just going to backtrack and pretend I never said that, but it slipped out, right? But it was just fantastic news because we know, and the relevance behind this is that everything in the body, as we've always said, is electrical, right? Even me moving my little finger like this is my mind telling the energy or the electrical current in all of my billions of cells or some of my billions of cells to move around, right? That's what we are as mental beings in this divine body. So we have, we're choice makers, if you like. We're consciousness interacting with this, divinely given body, which is a bunch of atoms all spinning in a certain way, which we can come on to later. So everything in the body is electrical, but especially in the head, because all of your brain waves are electrical signals, and the brain is just this extraordinary, complex, very powerful, electrically functioning organ, right? So when you hold effectively what we call Deca energy, but it's effectively the energy of love next to your brain, then all of the electrical functions in your head react positively and your body goes into that yang state. And the best news was that we tested all of that on a 5G field. So that was, because this phone here, I have the ability to turn it on from 3G to 5G. Obviously, I don't put it on 5G, but we tested it like that. So that's the news that I have to share. And it was wonderful because, I know that this is doing good. I know that it's delivering benefit. But to have it tested and demonstrated in that way, I wasn't quite ready for it. But then when it came through, it was just like, well, that it is what it is. So that's my positive news that I have. And we've got a video on that on our YouTube channel, which is Omnia Balance. People can check it out. I'm not saying that's the end of the story. I'm not saying, hey, great, we can all just run around and do whatever we want and make phone calls all day. I'm not saying that. But while we try and, do something about the bigger picture and get proper safety testing, tested networks above our heads and in the skies, while we're making that, point that we don't consent to that, then this is a pretty good thing to put on your phones, laptops, and Wi-Fi routers.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. For a number of reasons. Everybody who's listened to us knows my story about how these patches have just totally eliminated my migraine headaches, something I wasn't actually expecting. When I got the patches, I don't even know if I was expecting anything, to be perfectly honest. And I put them on the router, my phone, the computer, whatever. And I noticed 3 days went by. I'm like, I haven't had a headache. And then I was like, oh my God, 3 days ago, I put those patches on everything. And I just had this aha moment. I was like, oh my God, like my headaches were due to the radiation. I never even thought of it. I was seeing doctors. I was trying every over-the-counter remedy, even holistic remedies. Nothing was working because I wasn't addressing the right issue, right? So this was something huge for me, which made me like, this is why I'm always promoting these. I think everybody needs these. And not only that I had two phones. I had my personal phone and my work phone. My work phone didn't have the patch. And I'm not joking when I say I feel like my blood is boiling when I hold that phone without the patch compared to my other phone. it gets hot. It actually hurts my hand. I can't even hold it that long.
Right.
And I used to be in a long distance relationship before, some time ago, before I knew about you or the podcast, you know, any of the stuff. And I was on the phone a lot and I would get headaches. I hated being on the phone that long because it would just kill me. I mean, I would actually get aggravated. It was just tough, but it was the only way we could communicate. When I got those patches, not being on the phone doesn't even bother me. Not even remotely. If anything, I'm energized. Like I feel good. I'm never like, you kind of get agitated when you're around technology for too long. It does something to you, but that doesn't happen to me anymore. So it's just incredible. And I'd like you to
That's
actually
good.
go.
And that's going to help the relationship, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So which is fantastic. Yeah.
And I'd like you to go into some of the actual technology, because that's fascinating to me. We're talking about the same exact stuff Nikola Tesla was trying to do. I mean, this is exactly what he was trying to achieve, tapping into the electricity in the air and utilizing what's already there that doesn't cost us anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly right. Well, it's funny you should say that, because only today, because there's a lot of videos circling around at the moment with people inventing Tesla coils and like holding a light bulb up against, you know, some Tesla coil, and then the light bulb turns on, you know, and there's no cable anywhere and stuff like that. And I sent one of these videos that I'd seen to Laki, and Laki is short for Dr. Ilija Lakicevic, but you know, you can understand why I call him Laki, why he calls himself Laki. So I sent it to Laki and I said, hey bro, what do you think about this? You know, people are copying Tesla. And he said, what's the point of that? What's the point of transferring energy from one coil to another coil? He said that's not the future, you know, and the future is, to him and to me now, all about Deca energy. It's all about basically energy that is organic, that is here in our atmosphere already, waiting for us to remember or to teach ourselves how to activate that energy so that it will serve our purposes, and it will only do things that are benevolent. And so what I mean by that is that, you know, he has been on an awakening journey through conscious breathing, and also, you know, he used to be like a research professor at the Max Planck Institute of Physics, right? That's like the highest level you can get in physics. And, you know, he basically started having these awakening moments, conscious breathing, read into Tesla and so on, and then realized that, you know, he was getting messages, you know, through his conscious breathing and understanding a little bit more about the nature of reality and the laws of physics. And so he started to, you know, understand that things were different, and was receiving information on how to prove that. And then he went back to mainstream physics and just said, look, the atom is not what we thought it was, nor is gravity, nor is magnetism, nor is all of these things. And I've got all these experiments that I can prove it. And he expected mainstream physics to kind of go, oh my God, thank God you're here. You know, let's change all the textbooks, all that sort of stuff. But of course, completely the opposite happened. You know, he got booted out, and he had to make a decision on whether he would go back with his tail between his legs and say, I was only joking, how silly of me, or whatever. But no, he stayed true to his convictions. And basically he just expanded. And then I think in 2007, he first identified that there were these new units of energy, popping up everywhere within the rain, especially in the mountains. And because he'd become very clairvoyant, he could see them. And so he would go into his meditative state, just like Tesla used to do. And he would basically say, what am I to do with these new units of energy? And he could see them. And he received the message on what it was here for. And it basically is the energy of the fifth dimension that is here to be kind of like the bridge from, you know, our old electricity systems or energy systems, which are all based on the concepts of generate, extract, and pay, right? So they're basically, you generate the electricity, you extract it off the grid, and then you pay for it. And then you keep coming back and you're in this enslavement loop, right? And if you flip that around and look at what the Deca energy is actually here to be our slave or our servant. I don't like the word slave, but our servant. It's here to serve us. So whatever we ask it to do, once we've learned and stepped into that power, and that could be, activated by whatever's coming up in the next few months, because we all know that there's an event coming and a big awakening, hopefully coming down the pipeline. A lot of us will awaken to that memory of how to work with Deca and then replace all of those old systems of electricity, gas, things that ruin our planet, ultimately. Because, if you've done any studying on electric cars, and, they're not exactly much of a replacement for the old gas cars. So he sees this energy unit and he started working with it. It looks like a dodecahedron. So that is a 12-sided pentagon. And the difference is that on each of the 12 sides, there's a spinning cone of light that goes, or there's 6 pairs. So 6 pairs, so that makes 12 sides, 6 pairs passing light across the dodecahedron structure. So that light goes across, 6 pairs across the structure, and it never runs out. And that unit of energy responds to conscious human intent. So if you learn how, and you go into that deep state, the same kind of state that Tesla used to go into to invent a lot of his creations, if you go into that state, you can actually work with it, and then you can bring it into this reality to perform, amazing feats. He's working on a kind of Deca energy generator right now, and I've just got everything crossed that it works, but ultimately it's going to be a kind of like a generator, but it effectively produces energy which is always in balance, always in the resonance of what he calls love, unity, consciousness, and it's incorruptible, right? So you can't use Deca energy to go and fire a missile, right? But you can use it to balance radiation fields, which is exactly what we've done in our sticker patch. So we have Deca energy that's imprinted, these tiny little units of energy that's imprinted into these patches. And then when that patch meets and connects with the radiation field, which is imbalanced, then you effectively get this overriding the imbalanced energy of the phone, and then it's compatible and even, beneficial to the human body.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny how sensitive I've become to this radiation, this frequency, because for years I didn't pay any attention to it. I just didn't know, and I didn't know it was harmful. I never considered it. I just thought it was normal. I thought they had our best interest in mind. Come to find out from you that they don't even test the cell phones on people. They test them on plastic dummies.
Indeed.
Well, explain that process, because that's mind blowing to me, and I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah. So, this is where it just gets completely off the charts mad, right? And this is how sort of susceptible we all are, because, many very intelligent people have not questioned this process, right? So what they do is they get a plastic model of a human being, right? So it's got plastic skin, and then they fill that mannequin with fake blood. So that's a combination of like salts and sugars and things that are in blood, right? And water, obviously. And then they push a phone next to the plastic skin and see whether there's any temperature change inside the fake blood, right? So that's what they do. They just measure heat, right? But everyone that's in my space knows that these effects that are caused to the human body are not caused by heat. They're caused by something else. And I'm going to explain why that is in a minute. But back to the test, there's one thing that's missing from that test, right? Which is a human body,
the human,
with a heart, something with a heart, something with a brain. You're not testing any of the brain's reactions, any of the heart's reactions, any of even the cells' reactions in your body. And there's another thing, which is even funnier, which is, I don't know if this is going to get me into any trouble, but it's pretty well documented. It's a scandal called Phonegate, right? Where when they pushed the phone next to the plastic skin and they measured the heat inside, the phones started getting more and more sophisticated, right? And more hot, right? And the radiation got, more and more intense. And they started getting readings which were not in, which was going over the safety threshold, which was like made up. I don't know if anyone knows this, but the safety measures were made up in 1996, and they haven't changed since then. And if you remember what phones looked like in 1996, they were a whole lot different than they are now, right? So, the phones got more sophisticated. The bandwidth got bigger, and suddenly you got a lot more heat coming out of the phone, and they were getting the wrong readings according to their 1996 things. So what did they do? They pulled the phone away 5 millimeters away from the plastic skin, and they found that they got the readings that were in that limit. So what they did is they then went back into all the terms and conditions on our phones and said, you must hold this phone 5 millimeters away from your body at all times. It's a touch phone. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Good luck with that. Yeah.
It's, this is where it just gets beyond like a bad cover-up.
Well, yeah. So they're testing just for the heat. That's it. They were just testing to see if the blood would warm up or heat up, and if it wasn't heating up, then like, okay,
Which
good.
Is
this is safe.
Like ionizing radiation is all they were testing for. Yeah.
That's it. So basically, the only way that they can detect, well, classically, you've got the electromagnetic spectrum, which decides whether enough heat is created to break chemical compounds or shake an electron off an atom in classical physics. And if it doesn't create that heat, then it's just basically categorized as non-ionizing, and that's okay. And no further tests are done, right? So the industry just uses heat to measure whether that it's safe or not, and they'll concoct some kind of test to get them past the post, if you know what I mean, right?
Hey.
But everyone that's doing the biological tests on the rats, is saying, wait a minute, these are all happening with non-thermal radiation that definitely doesn't create enough heat to trouble the electromagnetic spectrum. It's definitely non-ionizing category. And that's where our science comes in to explain exactly why non-thermal, non-ionizing radiation that's made by man, and that's the crucial part of this, because this is different to the sun, which is made by a different maker. So when man makes these electromagnetic fields, or what we call magnetoelectric fields, we get it wrong. And that electrical field dissonates with all the electricity in the human body. So we've come up with our theory behind why this is a problem, but also we've come up with our solution. I like to think that because our solution is proving more and more effective, then it must be because the knowledge about the wave field that is wireless radiation or microwave radiation, our knowledge about what it is, what quality it is that dissonates with the human body is correct. And the quality is what we call the centeredness of the wave field, right? Mm-hmm. And the wave field is effectively a pattern of light. And that pattern of light has a 0 point in the middle. And that 0 point is a magnetic point, and it holds the light ring in place. If that 0 point is moving all around and not settling into the center, then effectively you have an agitated wave field. And that agitated wave field through wireless radiation comes and hits what we have in our bodies, which is like a perfectly balanced wave field, because we are beings of light. And in fact, everything is light, right? This is what Tesla meant when he talked about energy, frequency, and vibration, is that everything is light. Every piece of matter is light. And there's lots of levels of light you can't see, infrared and so on. But certainly what you can see, as in like me and you and everything in this room, is effectively a spinning ring of light that is compressing itself into matter, right? It compresses itself into matter, And what holds it in its material reality is that magnetic point in the middle, holding it in an atomic structure, right? And it follows two phases. It compresses itself, the light ring compresses itself into matter, and then it discharges itself into the ether, and then it recycles itself via the 0 point, and then lives again. So it's living, dying, flicking on, off, life, death, rapidly, so fast that it looks permanent, right? It looks material, it looks like matter. So that is the same for this wall as it is for the atoms and the cells in my body. But the difference between this wall and the atoms and cells in my body is that I have a mind to move the atoms and cells around, but also this body was effectively a divine creation, right? And that's the thing. That's the, if you want to get esoteric about all of this, this is what's happening on a bigger scale, is that humanity is about to start connecting with the divinity inside our bodies, right? And it's just about to receive this new light and this new information, and starting to tune that 0 point into the absolute geometric center. And then all sorts of crazy things are going to go off through our DNA and our consciousness and everything else. And there are certain beings, shall we call them, because I'm not going to call them people, who have a plan to try and stop that. And that is to flood the environment with imbalanced light, so that we get our normally balanced light rings in our body get disturbed. So that is kind of like the spiritual war, if you want to call it that, which is going on at the moment.
Well, I think
absolutely.
I think next time we have you on, we're going to have to cover a subject that you know a little more about, because you don't seem to be very well informed on this.
Yeah.
Next time we should get Lucky on.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
So somebody has a really good question. Would the sticker work if kept inside a locket and worn around the neck, or would it need to be attached to a device?
That's a really good question. And about a couple of months ago, I would have said no. It absolutely has to be put on a radiating device, because the program in the stickers is there to meet the radiation, change its state, and then your body reacts to that new energy field. But when we did the ART, autonomic response testing, when we did that, we started mucking about. Right, we put these Bluetooth headphones in. We put it on the Bluetooth headphones, and we saw whether we went into deep yang state, and we did. And and someone just said, "Why don't you take the Bluetooth headpiece out and just put the thing on the ear, see what happens?" And again, the person tested went into deep healing or yang state, and I was like, "Whoa," because I wasn't ready for that at all. And then we started putting it on different parts of the body, and obviously the heart was very receptive, and so were the feet. But it's not, they're quite difficult. Feet, you wouldn't wear one on your feet, but you would put one potentially in a locket around your, close to your heart. So my answer to that is a provisional yes, but we want to do more testing on that, and we also probably going to bring out a new jewelry range or some kind of like locket range or something like that, next year. But we want to test it properly before we do all that.
Yeah. So what other stuff do you have in development? Are you allowed to talk about any of it? I know some of it's pretty amazing, and I don't know if you're at liberty to speak about some of what's in development.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a bit wary of talking about this because I've talked about it for a little while now, and I don't know when it's going to happen. That's the only thing. I know that I'm pretty sure that Lucky will get there in the end, but he is developing an air conditioning unit, which doesn't require electricity or a battery. So it's pretty much like, a bottle like that, but it has sacred geometry, and it's a certain type of material, and it's got the Deca energy in there. And the Deca energy has a program to meet all air molecules in the room and change their spin and change the spin of the air molecules, so that a temperature is maintained in the room. So it could be minus 20 outside or plus 20, but you would regulate it at 18 degrees, for example. So I know that that was on the table for him, but then he focused more on getting all of his papers published. And we can send you a link to all his papers. They're quite hard to read sometimes because he writes in a style that works for him. So you've got to be really committed to, going through his work. But I've done a fair bit of it. I haven't read every single paper, but within there, you'll see all sorts of things like the true structure of water, the true properties of the concept of the atom. He rewrites E equals mc squared with what he calls the etheric counterpart of the equation, as in the compression everyone knows about into matter. But he said that all of physics is missing the fact that every time something is made, an equal counterpart is discharged. So this is like what you might call the Akashic Records or something. This is the physics behind the Akashic Records, is that every time anything happens here, there's an etheric counterpart that is recorded somewhere out there in the etheric field, right? And you can go into sort of vortex mathematics and Tesla, sort of balance between the material and the etheric and that sort of thing. It's for those who want to really deep dive. Like I said, I'm more of like a translator for him, trying to put it in terms that people will understand. I don't know how good a job I'm doing, but I was never interested in science or physics before I started reading his papers, but I will put a caveat on that, which is that it's not a walk in the park. You have to read quite a few things again and again. And part of it is because his perspective is really interesting. His perspective is that, and this is really interesting for everyone right now, because everyone is really consumed by knowing stuff, seeing it, believing it, categorizing it, putting it into a box and categorizing everything. Like I speak to a lot of scientists who go, "Oh, all your tests are just secondary science. They're just opinions. You try and do a muscle test or something like that. That's just an opinion." I'm like, try it yourself and feel it. Feel it. But they can't, because they want to put it in a box, categorize it, put it down as data, and then make sure that data is incorruptible, because somewhere along the line, maybe they were persecuted or something like that, and they've got this huge fear of being wrong. But it just shows you that most of science is dedicated towards trying to find the absolute facts. Well, but what Laki says, is that there's one problem with that, which is that our senses can actually deceive us, right? Everything we see, everything we hear, everything, whatever, can actually deceive us. And a really crass, basic, depiction of that, or example of that, is two train tracks, right? So what does the eye do? The eye merges them as soon as they go down the line, right? But that the two train tracks are like this, and it's the same with the spinning ball. The ball is spinning, and I'm like, I'm here. The ball is spinning anti-clockwise. It's like, yeah, but what if I'm over there? It's doing the opposite, So, and what if I'm here? And what if I'm there? And so what he's doing is basically saying you have to almost be the ball. You have to be the ball that's spinning. You have to really get inside the motion and the ultimate, divine intelligence inside everything. And when you've made that step, then you can explore lots of things. And when you do, it actually becomes very simple, because the other people who've used their senses to try and put everything in a box and categorize it just go down this path of what he calls mental masturbation, where they basically put a theory on top of on top of they just lay a theory on theory on theory, and they might not get anywhere.
Well, so it's
exactly.
It's amazing to me that you said you weren't into any of this stuff until you weren't into physics or science or whatever until you discovered Laki's work, because you're brilliant. I mean, it takes a certain person to understand this and be able to relay it in a digestible way that makes sense, that the everyday person can understand. So, I mean, obviously this was no accident that you were the guy who came into contact with this information, and then now you're out here, basically serving humanity with this product that lasts forever, right? So
the
thanks for that.
energy never runs out.
And some couple people, there's a lot of questions actually, but can you place a sticker on headphones? What about a TV set? Like, I guess, could we go into some of
it sounds like you can put it anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty much. Just
basically, can you get this like tattooed onto you and just yeah.
Why not? Yeah. Yeah, look, our premise is this, right? All man-made electrical currents carry an imbalance. What we mean by that is that the 0 point that we talked about earlier does not stay in the center of the field. That is because when you have the 0 point in the center of the field, you're effectively in the balance of love and unity consciousness.
I'm going to stop you just for a second. The promo code, people are asking what the promo code is. It's truth in all caps, right? All caps.
Correct. Yeah.
Promo code truth. It's a 10% discount off from now through Christmas. Continue, Tim.
Yeah. So what we're just saying is that all electrical current from the electricity grid has an imbalance in it, which means that the 0 point isn't settled in the center of the field. It's moving all over the place. And the magnetic point inside all of our cells listens, because we are basically big electrical antenna. We are responding to everything we come into contact with, whether that's sunlight, good music, which, gives you tingles. That's a positive electrical reaction in the body. We're responding to everything, good food, a hug, all these things. But we also respond to things in exactly the same way that we don't resonate with, like car fumes. If you smell car fumes, you hold your nose or you run away, right? Because it's bad. But what we can't do is smell, see, and most of us can't feel those imbalanced wireless radiation fields. But that's why we use the body to try and show what's happening to it and show whether it's strong or weak, and whether water is chaotic or perfectly crystalline, and show that vibration has changed. But back to what I was saying is that if you take the premise that all electrical fields are imbalanced, it means you can put this on any imbalance. People talk about dirty electricity, their smart meter, in their cars. If you take a radio frequency meter and you put it in a car, the readings go very, very high. You can put it anywhere. And the nice thing is that the more places you put it, it creates this resonant network of, balanced vibrations.
Yeah. And it's funny because you said most people can't feel the radiation, but I went in, I had to go get a new cell phone, and I walked into the AT&T store and I thought I was going to die. I hadn't been around 100, 200 cell phones at once like that in years. I haven't been a while since I've gone into a cell phone store. I'm not joking. Like, I felt, like I said earlier, I felt like my blood was boiling. I'm like, I had an anxiety attack. I was like, how are these people in here just sitting? But the scary thing is by the end of my visit there, my body had already kind of started getting used to it.
Right.
And it wasn't affecting me, because you immediately
get used to it.
You get used to it too quickly, and then you don't notice anything's wrong. But whenever you're away from it from that long and then you step into it, I was almost getting ready to just walk out and leave and order a phone online, because I was like, I can't be in here. I can't be in here. And
it's the boiling frog. It's the boiling frog example, isn't it?
Yeah. I was just wondering if it was me, if it's just me, like becoming more aware of my body and just being more sensitive to it, or if just I've never paid attention to it before. I don't know, but I know for a fact that it is not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's both you, because you're obviously, on a path, and those who are on the path, receiving more and are open to, more of this energy coming in, and obviously got a purpose as well, which is coming through loud and clear on Journey to Truth. And yeah, when you walk into those fields that are there effectively to take your shining light down a peg or two, then yeah, you're going to be sensitive to that on many levels, not just on a bodily level, but on a soul mission level as well. And of course, if you have been using Omnia and you we're used to the good balance, then you're going to swing back into that,
Yeah.
and I'm the same, it's not like you just have these and you never get sensitive ever again. It's not that. And this is why, I'm very keen to tell everyone that this is not the solution. This is just a patch up, right? Because everyone has got to be aware of what is being foisted upon us,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And
Just
reject it.
something really quick on the somebody said Tyler is part alien. Anita.
We all are.
Yeah. What's up? What's up, Alara? So Alara, from 1 Foot in 5D, this is her shirt, Space Force News. I helped her and I co-designed this logo, and the shirt just came in the mail yesterday. So I am premiering this shirt, I guess, on Journey to Truth. So guys, make sure you guys, somebody in the chat, can you put that link in there too for her TeeSpring page? What's up, Alara? Sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to change the subject, but no, I was
going to. Alara.
Yeah, and Tim,
I met her too as well.
Yeah. So going back to the smart meters, I'm the only house in my neighborhood that doesn't have a smart meter, because I'm the only one who fought it, because I'm not stupid. I had to actually get in the argument to where I had to raise my voice with them, and they finally left me alone. They were pestering me about putting a smart meter. They said it was mandatory. They never gave me a legal reason why. They just said it was mandatory. You have to. Everyone's doing it. Blah blah blah. They kept, and I put my foot down, and I'm like, listen, I don't care what you have to do. I do not consent to this. You will not come on my property and put this smart meter on my house without my permission. And if you do, there's going to be problems. And they never did. And thank God, I still have the old school dial meter on there. But anybody who's listening, the reason I'm telling this story is you don't have to have that on your home. As much as they want you to think that you have to have it, you don't. And there is something you can do about it. Or just put a patch on it. But now, if you did put this patch if you put this patch outside of your house, would weather eventually make it lose its potency?
Well, I mean, if you put it outside the house, it is, we've tried to make this affordable for everyone. And, there are many very expensive solutions out there on the market, but it is also really simple. It's just a, paper, glue, dye, and Deca energy, right? But it is perishable, right? So it is going to, eventually deteriorate unless you just tape over it. So if you put it on a smart meter outside, just put some tape on top of it and just leave it, let it go. It'll be fine. It'll always work.
By the way, for those who don't know, if you do get it, you put it directly on your phone underneath your case. You don't have to put it on the outside. So I'm pulling my case off right now just to show you, it can go. And this is this is one that I actually scraped off my old phone and restuck to this phone. But so I guess it still works that way. It should.
It does. Yeah, it does. That's a design fault on my I'm joking.
No,
I'm joking. I lost some money there. Damn it.
No, I just couldn't get myself to throw one of them away or get rid.
Don't. Because there's always an electrical device. There's a toaster, well, not a toaster, but there's a fridge. There's something that microwave oven. There's something that you haven't done. So if you just put them everywhere, and then just the nice vibes will be surrounding you.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go back to what Aaron just said. How we're all ETs. I know. Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting.
We are.
It's true, and we're made up of we are hybrids, and that's what's interesting to me about you, Tim, is like not only it's funny how we found each other and then we've developed this relationship, and there's a lot in common there as far as what's actually happening on this planet and off planet. And it's a fascinating subject to me. And I know it's something that you've been diving deeper into. I don't know if you would be interested in going that direction at all publicly with any of that stuff, but I know you're on an incredible journey yourself, and it's fascinating stuff. And
I could tell you a story. yeah, it's kind of, for those who've lasted this long, you get to hear the interesting stuff, I guess. So I'll just try and keep this fairly compact because it's quite a shaggy dog, long-winded thing. But I went to dinner maybe 18 months ago with a friend who was also a campaigner against 5G and so on, and sat opposite this guy who said to me, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Clapham. And he went, oh my God, no way. And he said, how long have you lived there? And I said, well, since 1980, because it's my family home and I'm still living with mum and dad at the moment. And then it's like, what date did you move in? And how old were you? And what number street do you live down? And I'm like, wait a minute, what's all this about? Turns out that he's like, his spiritual awakening led him to understand numbers, and he sees everything in numbers and numerology and everything else. And he starts saying to me, do you know anything about the Clapham Sect? And I said, no. And I've lived in Clapham since 1980, but obviously other places as well, but I've come back here. So I know Clapham back of my hand, and there's a big common or park around Clapham, like huge common in the middle. And I didn't know anything about the Clapham Sect, and it turned out that they were a bunch of kind of what is known as saints in politics, right? So what they did was they campaigned from about 1790 onwards for the abolition of slavery, right? So and they made it happen, right? They abolished slavery. They were like a group of Christian men. They were called a brotherhood of politicians or whatever. They got together and they were completely badass because at that time you had corporations, religions, society was completely committed to this horrible act of slavery, and they overturned it. But also they had some kind of divine guidance. And that guidance, I think, was quite important to them succeeding. So they left all of these clues in all the buildings that they built around Clapham Common, right? And there are all these old buildings around here that have got these clues in the architecture and these clues in the numbers of the houses on the streets and the distance between the houses, which was replicating the distance between certain stars. So it's a bit like the pyramids, nice. Because they built all of these houses in Clapham and they left all these clues. And I'm sitting opposite the guy who's telling me all of this, and I'm like, I need to know all of this shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need, just keep coming like this, I'm like, who were they? And they were like William Wilberforce, who's like the Wilberforce, who's the kind of head, the most famous one of them. But I'll probably just end up by saying one thing, which is that he then gave me a lift home, and we talked for ages, and I was just like, absolutely enthralled by all of this. And he gave me a lift home. Something happened on the way home. Some kind of kaleidoscope thing happened, and I was just going into some kind of weird wormhole. And I got home, and then we talked for about 50 minutes more. And then I said, right, thanks very much. See you later. Really good to meet you. And then I walked 100 meters to my front door, and I just had this download of energy that just came out of nowhere, and it just hit me. And I was just like, I can't go through that door. Mm-hmm. I need to go and sit down somewhere. And I was just like receiving all of this energy, and I started talking this light language. And then I was like, I need to go for a walk. So I basically walked out, and it was like 10:30 p.m. and I walked around Clapham Common, and it was crazy. There was just all this energy in the trees. I could really, when you're really tuned in, and you can just feel spirit everywhere. And I walked all the way around the common and then ended up at the church. And then I saw a plaque on the wall that said the Clapham Sect worshipped here. So I was just like, right, that's my journey finished there. And it was just like, wow, what does this mean? I couldn't work out what it meant. And obviously, as human beings, we're always trying to figure out what things mean. And then I talked to someone else that I know, and they said, I've got some information coming through for you. I told them exactly what I just told you. And I said, yeah, sure, come bring it through. And they said, they've left some codes for you to pick up. So anyway, maybe I'll leave that second stage for part 2 or something like that. Well, I can carry on if you want,
Well,
so yeah. So,
it has to do with Galactic Council, correct? Or
has to do with galactic councils, and also connection of the galactic ley lines with the ley lines of the planet, which is really important because there's a battle going on that level as well. And there are no doubt people who are here as channels to receive that energy and then bring it through. And yeah, it just so happens that there is a ley line going across Clapham Common, and I moved back here and moved in with my parents, and they've suffered me for put up with me for like maybe over 2 years now, but just so happens that there might have been a reason why I came back at this time, which is to be close to this energy line here. So it's literally 150 meters away from my front door, and I didn't know about it ever until I met this guy at a restaurant, and he just it was just weird as the universe, making things happen as it does. Who am I sitting next to? The guy who knows, or opposite, the guy who knows everything about Clapham. We just started up a conversation, and then loads of things opened out. So since then I've been sort of exploring what else I need to do or receive, or so on. But yeah, there you go. So
we've had, I know, and we've had
incredible.
It is. You and I have had some pretty amazing conversations on that. And I think that we're a lot of us, light warriors, star seeds, light workers, whatever you want to call us, we are strategically located to anchor the light in certain locations all around the globe. And it's, in my opinion, it is no mistake at all that you're there where you are. I think all of us, everybody watching, everybody is planted in their hometown for a specific reason. There might be a ley line or some type of energetic alignment that they specifically resonate with, and they can affect somehow their awakening. By them raising their vibration, they're going to affect the ley line, let's just say, in their area. And then once we all start doing that, this ley line is a grid system. It's a global matrix of these ley lines, right? So, and this is the galactics obviously know about this. So by everybody going through their awakening where they are, it's just kind of waking up the whole planet. And then when we all get together for these conferences, man, I guess that ley line is just lucky because it gets like a super activation.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say to everyone, like, we are cell towers too. Remember that. We are towers, literally towers of cells. And, we transmit energy as well. So, be really responsible for that energy right now, because, you can get sucked into the whole kind of like, I was just saying before we came on the show, right now, it's just like this, epic cliffhanger where all of the ugliness is, really doubling down. They're really doubling down on all of the programming, the fascism, the whatever you want to call it, the statism, if you want your life back to normal, you must do as I say, and the police on the streets and this, that, and the other. All the ugliness is coming right up to the top for us to see it, because even, the most asleep person has to see it really in front of their face and really has to be affected by it in order for us all to transmute it. And we can get sucked into that whole kind of fear. Oh my God, are we actually going to win the day, or is this just going to tip the other way? It's a real cliffhanger. And we've really got to remember that we are cell towers transmitting, energy at the moment and receiving energy, which may not make sense to us yet. But we've got to remember that, holding our center, being that 0 point, that still point inside of every one of our cells, connected to spirit, connected to, the good future. And, hopefully Deca energy that's all around us will help us to make that transition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I believe that. Aaron, you need to quit talking so much.
All right.
No, Aaron, we're going to let you leave us with a spiritual message for everybody.
Oh, I got to top that, man.
No. If
That's
anybody could give advice on that, it is Aaron, because he's always listening and just reading. You constantly whatever, constantly upgrading yourself, I guess. He's doing knowledge. What I'm trying to say is, if there's any one of us who's doing the work, it's Aaron. And
well, thank you.
So
I try.
Yeah, so you'd be the perfect person to leave us with some advice here, because a lot of people out there are worried right now. There is a lot of anxiety going on and fear. So
yeah, Tim basically said it. We're here just by us being here. We're affecting the frequency of the planet. We're affecting everyone around us, and just the planet and the timeline. So the more you can stay out of fear, because the more you get caught up in fear or any of these low vibrational states, the more you're going to be emanating that frequency, and then you're going to be holding yourself down as well. Like Tim said, all the darkness and the ugliness is coming to the surface, and it's being very loud right now, because it's being brought up to be cleared, but it's also being brought up because the dark ones are losing control, so they're afraid, so they're lashing out. All the darkness is kind of lashing out right now. So the best thing to do is to not let that affect you, because that's the whole trick, is for them to if they can act really scary and do all these things, and we believe it and we buy into it, then that's the game. But it's only if we buy into it.
Yeah, they can't, and that's beautifully said. And they, like Kate, our friend Kate Awakening, she said, whatever happens, whatever they want to do, whatever is going on out there that seems like it might be affecting your life, they can't. Well, the one thing they can't do is they can't stop you from being a good person. They can't stop you from living from the heart and living in integrity and doing what's right and doing what's right. And even if that means treating the people in your immediate family better, and just, because they are isolating us, right? So work with the hand that we're dealt. And maybe this is happening, so we do start paying attention to a lot of things that we had been taking for granted up until this point. So,
and the more you heal yourself, the less susceptible to living in fear you are, because that's the whole game too, is they want you to live in fear. But when you become fearless, when you don't even fear death, because that's what so many people are still afraid of, death and afraid of dying, right? And that's what the whole COVID scam is like, oh my God, you're gonna die if you get it. And it's like, well, if you don't fear death, it doesn't scare you anymore, right? You're like, well, I'm not this body anyway.
Like James says, I can remember dying 1,000 times already. So.
Exactly. Especially people that have already died or had those near-death experiences.
Bring it on.
They know, But it's like when you don't even fear death, then it's like, what do you have to lose? You're not this body. That's not who you are. You're just living in this body temporarily, experiencing this reality. But if that goes away, you're just transitioning to a different state.
Yep.
Consciousness doesn't die. It can't die.
So
there you go. Once you get to that point, they can do anything they want to you. They can. Doesn't matter what happens. You become fearless.
Well, like Nicole Frolic said, actually, she said that once you get to a certain point like that, a lot of this stuff almost gets neutralized as it comes into your body, right? So like even like chemtrails or GMOs, or let's say some of these frequencies, if you are doing the work and you are raising your vibration and becoming this light body, this light being, and preparing yourself for ascension, a lot of these 3D level poisons might not even affect you. They might be neutralized upon entry. I don't know if that's true, but it's a theory that that makes sense, because our thoughts create our reality. So
absolutely. Yeah, you can detox yourself. You do have to give some kind of dedication to that. I think it's a very lucky person that can just walk around with their electrical antennae just brushing everything off.
Like a shield.
You got to effectively, you are the mind inside the body, and the body is programmed to respond to all of these things around it, right? But you do have a mind that can actually deprogram it, but the mind has to be consistently in that mode. You know, I always tell the story about how you can say a prayer and you'll do a muscle test and stay super strong when you put the phone in your hand. However, you then got to go around saying the prayer all day, right? And what effectively we're doing is we're putting the prayer in the sticker, and then that's set and forget, so that you can now fight the other battles that you got to go out and fight. But yeah,
I love that. Nice way to slip that in there.
well,
it's true. It's true, because society is designed to distract us. So we can be as strong as we want, walk down the street, and then depending on the personality or the person that you are, you'll be like, you know, oh, look, a squirrel, you know, like stuff will get your attention. And then next thing you know, your guard is down and something could be affecting you in a way that you don't even know, or you don't even understand. So I get it. That's a great point. You know, it's impossible really to walk around all the time like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good point.
I think one of the, I mean, my parting comment would be that, you know, in this turmoil and all of this kind of maelstrom of stuff that's swirling around, just remember to be in a state where you're allowing that energy to come through for you, or allowing that galactic team to be connecting with you, but just be open to that. But don't be open to a point where you are, you know, corruptible or anything like that, but be open where you're connected to source, you know, connect with, you know, just look at trees and get inside, you know, the energy of the tree, connect with that energy and be open and allow. And the other nice phrase that I was taught by someone else who I really respect was, she calls it the three amigos. She's Asian, so she goes, I have my friends, the three amigos. And it's faith, trust, and surrender.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's the state where we've got to try and stay while all of this crap's going on.
Yeah. Well,
yes, absolutely.
We'll end it with that, Tim. Thank you so much for coming on. This is amazing. The reason we're had you back on for a third time is because I truly believe this technology is fascinating. It is next level stuff, and it's fascinating to me. I could listen to it all day long because we want to know. We're drawn. I guess I resonate with it because I really do see it as being the future. So yeah, everybody out there, I know everybody's wanting to know about the promo codes. Promo code TRUTH, all caps, gets you 10% off the Omnia patches through Christmas. Promo code Sleepy Joe gets you 20% off our TeeSpring page through Christmas. And we don't have the promo code anymore for Hopewell Farm, but you guys know that's amazing CBD products. Jace, I see you're in the chat. Tell them about Hopewell Farm. I know Jason and Alexis, they use Hopewell Farm products. They're amazing. They really are amazing. They're very potent. They work. It's the best CBD I've ever used. So
get an Omnia patch or patches.
Yeah. Journey to Truth Christmas bundle.
And get Hopewell Farm CBD.
And all right, Tim.
That's all you need.
Any last words before we part ways here?
No, I'm all good. Thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with your crowd again. And hopefully next time we'll bring Lackey on to tell your audience about what he's just invented and how it works, and how everything that Tesla invented is like the old way and here's the new way.
All right.
So fingers crossed for that, but that's my promise to you. As soon as it happens, we're coming on.
Beautiful.
Sweet. I can't wait.
All right, Tim. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I will say, I did want to thank everybody for the donations. Thank everybody for the donations we've been getting. It's just amazing the support we're getting right now through these times. Look at 1133 average. The synchronicity. Sorry, looking at the screen. Just thank you, everybody. Thank everyone for your support. Thank you to all the mods, Anita, Alara, whoever else is a mod. I don't even know anymore. So thank you all. Thank you guys for showing up every week and just supporting us through this, because this is our passion. This is what we like doing. So if we can help you guys on your journey, then that's, we're doing something right. So thank you guys, and we love you all. And we'll be back a lot sooner than you think. We have a lot coming up. This is going to be a busy month. It's not going to be our normal Thursday night schedule, but I think you guys will like what we have coming. So stay tuned, and good night, everybody. And we love you, and we will see you next time.